So I thought I'd talk about some more subjects about being homeless. I don't think I talked about that in my video. I talked about all kinds of stuff that whoever has the time to watch these videos can kind of go about it, put it together. I'm old. I feel old. I'm 41 years old, and that was it for me. I have to just move on and do the best of what I can. And the electronic devices they shoot at me will never end. I've spent more time being abused by these electronic devices than I will be for sure, longer than I've lived on this earth. And, to my knowledge, this is as early as, my early 20s to even late teens. But I do know that, they've been shooting them at me for a very long time, longer than I'll be alive without them permanently. If they ever stop these electronic devices permanently, I won't outlive the time that at least for my adulthood as well. I won't live another 20 years. So, when I go through these homeless experiences, nobody understands them. Nobody really cares about the magnitude of really what they don't know the details. Having, items stolen from you, people going through your backpack, having to replace them, finding mailing addresses to send mail to, because you got to buy. You have to learn pretty fairly quickly to where you want to shop. You can go to Walmart. You very cheap, or you can go to like Amazon, where it's very cheap, but you have to spend time looking at different items. You have to find a delivery address, hopefully, and there's a chances that they can get it wrong when they send it to you. There's a multitude of things that go on. When you're on Craigslist, and just up until the last 2 years, I started using Facebook, which I didn't know Facebook also had like a Craigslist ad, different ads where you could stay at people's houses and pay them money. But it's very tough. It's very tough to go through these details, because I have to go through those experiences of how my existence is. Like, I've never understood. You hear about these people, they park their car coming home from a garage. Park the car in the garage, and they close, the garage door, and they go to their big screen TV, and there's a luxury of sense of that, of you're bathing in this luxury and comfort of normal life. Even if you do have bills to pay, there's none of that I will ever get or see or understand. These goals that you think that you get to focus on and you have the choices to work on, I don't get to work on any of those. It's like a prison. I don't get to work. It's the influences of not being able to go work out, and what reasons you work out for, or pretty girls. Everything is just taken away. Everything. Like, if it wasn't enough with the tickets and you want to complain about something else, and they don't care. Like, this is why I talked about it, and it was so vengeful and so angry and so willing to fight for this money in this house not to get sold, because it was absolutely, important to have a foundation of comfort for future goals and whatnot. But I do understand that I don't think that house was safe. I really think that the main reason they needed everyone to leave was because there was either a planned murder, or there was too much of a chance too many people were gonna show up. There were too many, and it was too dangerous. It was just, they were going to burn up the house. Somebody was going to do a killing. It was way too dangerous. And, it's a small house. So, having your childhood home stripped from you like that, you lived there for 20 fucking years, and you didn't just take that away from me, but my father, and all this money disappears. I don't get to stay home and get a full-time job, and work and save money and buy nice things and shit. Whether it's rent-free, well, that's exactly what my dad wanted. I still have to pay the bills, I still have to pay my mother, but there's that comfort of a family, and I don't get anything, and that's very difficult because, I'm watching all these other people spend tens of thousands of dollars like nothing, like crazy, and that was it. You keep complaining, and life runs out, and there's nothing left. You get they keep justifying these things, and there's no more to complain about. And that's why they did it. It was to take your life away from you. The qualities of the exquisiteness of a Picasso, of a life that could have been very enjoyed, and you're still going to go out and do whatever it is that you're going to do to help other people, because there's all this stuff that's going on. Whether you want to give money, a fraction of your money to the poor, build more homeless shelters, help specific countries, that could benefit the U.S. Give, build an artwork center for adults to teach kids more about art or whatever it is, or gyms, whatever it may be. It was none of that shit for me. It was prison and jail. Hopefully the police can trigger me to get a gun, stabbing, use a car, but to throw me in jail and prison, and you'll never hear any about the rapes that they contributed to. And that's why. That was exactly 100% Michael Jackson excuse. Oh, it's just his kid wants to get free ride at 50, and they're very mouthy. They're very good to want to get away with what they want to get away with. That's the number one thing, and there were so many is nobody wants to pay the price. Nobody wants to run in front of the bullets, and take the chance, and that's exactly what happened to me and Frankie and my mother, and God knows even what my father had to do throughout his life, to earn that house and to earn that degree and work. That was brutal. That was a brutal existence. It's a very brutal, and you take all that. As lucky as you are, you take the fucking shit. I walk out with nothing. And that you don't get. I'm going to school. My mother has no fucking idea that I'm getting the shit shoved into my ass at fucking high school. My mother has to. There's not an understanding that can be healthy even between the relationship between Frankie and my mother. Let's just say Frankie's perfectly fine. We go sit in a nice, comfortable living room. Me, Frankie, Julian, and my mother. Even if Frankie says, I didn't understand and I made these mistakes that, I was watching Frankie and his behavior. And it's just, you couldn't have, it would take a lot of repairs, very traumatic, to try to repair the relationship between Frankie and my mother, because my mother knows what's going on, and she wants to protect him, and Frankie knows this, but it's just okay, I'll pay for it again. I'll pay for the house again. Oh, it's just, it's just Keno, I'm saying, with the niggas, saying, oh, but it's not them, it's a white supremacist over here, Ken Cooper. Oh, he's not racist over there, but he's racist but not over here too. And it's just they're just taking it. They stole everything. I'd have to be around Frankie when his childhood shouldn't be like that. He wasn't a bad kid. We're the ones, just because you have bad rapings and troubles in your life doesn't mean somebody gives you fucking free shit, free money. you know, but when you help a woman and a mother that has a first grade education and she seems to fucking just be on the fucking basically on the corners of a fucking street, and you have Michael Jackson show up, you know, and just nothing good came from that. And it didn't go to us, it went to them. And it went to them over there. I didn't get shit over here. Nothing. It got old. And they're waiting for more down the road problems. They're waiting for, let's exchange the chess matches of this problem with this problem and this problem. But, you know, being homeless on the streets, that's all I had to even think about even more. So it's in the rut of dog shit that has happened to me. Now I am sleeping next to a trash can where the worst nightmares of my fucking life, to think about what was there and what they stole. So I get to think about that. That's what I get to think about. And then sit there and just think about that shit in a fucking prison. Never being able to get out. Never having a chance. And that was it. The disease wasn't enough. Well, that must have been murder attempt. You know, and it's just, it's tough because, you know, we didn't come from a drug-filled house. My mother went to church, and, you know, she's throwing away babies. Just keep that baby over there, just like strip from her very bed and throw away this worthless, retarded one. This one ain't worth a, you know, bag of shit. But until you're ready to keynote it, you know, until you're ready to, you know, Sarah Cooper and Madison, you know, we're gonna keep talking about this shit, you know. And, you know, it's this one over here that wants to know, but I'm being slapped upside the head. No, but then, and that's tough. You know, I don't get any memories, you know, and then you have to do the dividing again, you know. What about Marco and his twin memories about my mother? What about Julian and the memories he wants? You know, what happens there? And that's why it's just, you're stupid. From the very beginning, if you don't know what's going on, they're going to keep layering, okay, get her pregnant. Oh, it wasn't my fault. That one action changes everything. Completely changes everything. Oh, you got lucky, twins, Marco and the twins. Now all these problems show up. Everything changes. What does that one thing do? Catastrophically changed my life. If Marco was, oh, but it's life of Marco. You tell anybody you want to be alive, but I really don't know. Well, but, you know, Frankie's getting ass raped. You know, and it's tough because it's not that I'm trying to, you know, that's why they lived their life running at you and shooting your fucking family, dismantling in ingenious ways, collecting a paycheck, just checking out everything, every fucking thing, everything, dismantling the privileges of life that my father wanted and tried, and I had worked so hard, you know, and I don't get anything. And apparently now everyone got to Dream Makeover's house. You know, when you're going through these homeless experiences, this is all I get to fucking think about. Like, it isn't just like I wasn't trying, you know, so many, your cardiovascular, your cardio has to be unbelievably good and healthy and strong. It has to be phenomenal to do what I did. It has to be phenomenal because, you know, you're going to endure so much shit that it's hard to even understand how. I know none of my other friends would be able to do it, that's for sure. They wouldn't be the 50%. They're such freaking freeloaders, they wouldn't know a fucking damn thing. You know, because you're not going to get good food, and, you know, you didn't have a good life when you were younger so much. You know, I wasn't getting $1,000 Christmas gifts, nothing of that. So, you know, homeless and you're having to carry a backpack around and you have all these, you're just focused on hygiene and there's not really much repairs. At least now I get to work on, models and I get to build things for family and friends, and at least that I'm very happy for. But, you don't make much progression, 8-10 months underneath the bridge, 6 months in Alaska. The only thing is you do get to see the beautiful landscapes. You get to take a look at the beautiful landscapes. You always think about, your cancer. My cancer that I had, this trains me to think about that whenever I'm fucking to a trash can, when I'm fucking at a park. Thinking, okay, well, I got a marker, in case I did fucking start panhandling, and shit, and these were like the worst nightmares that I had when I was in my 18, 19 years old. If I didn't get to have all these nice clothes and shit when I was in my high school, if I didn't get to have these nice clothes in high school, then I sure as hell, didn't get them, very short-lived, but, it took my father's death for me to buy, I think I bought 4 jeans to 5 jeans at the mall. I've only bought 4 or 5 jeans my entire lifetime at a mall. Everything I shop at was at Ross. But the worst nightmares that you can imagine, being deprived financially like that from tickets in my early 20s, you can't even imagine, and let alone even know about the 10 rapes, that when I'm 28 years old, I'm done, and then I'm done there, and then I'm 30 years old, homeless. It wasn't entirely all bad, but when you go to like Val of Dead and you go to Gokona, beautiful landscapes, terrain, very beautiful, magical. In my opinion, what it was, but don't understand how hard it took just to even get the glimpse of that. And I'm taking such a risk of my life, like I'm walking into middle of places, on Craigslist and wherever it is. I never know what can happen. A bear fucking attacks me, a fucking mountain lion, and you lose a fucking face, get skinned off my face and shit, and all kinds of fucked up shit, raped, drugged up, fucking, I was in Kona, had no idea, these people I could be fucking macheted and killed and thrown in these fucking woods, and nobody will ever find me. The coyotes might, but they will never find me here. And nobody will ever know. I'll disappear out here in this fucking terrain. But, it's very shortly lived. Very, very shortly lived. I do it alone. There's very few pictures. There's no pictures in existence other than the ones I placed on Facebook and Instagram, which I've repeatedly deleted and, accounts and posted them and whatnot, and everything got so haywire I couldn't save any shit. It was just trying to survive. But, even in those circumstances, you go out there, you're begging on Craigslist, and it becomes very difficult, very tedious, very challenging. So school and all these other things and artwork, none of that. Now it's just like, you understand your life is being wasted away. It is being wasted. It's, and then somebody else is going to tell you it's purpose for something else. And it's easy to do that when you go to our church and you have nothing else to be grateful for, because you just want to be grateful for life. Because whenever I'm out there sleeping outside for months and days, I'm just grateful to even be able to look at trees and grass and be among, the squirrels and shit, or whatever. Maybe come across a moose or, and understand, like, the planet Earth that we're on. And that's what you're grateful for. With this whole comedy of, the accommodations that we understand of this infrastructure and how especially in the U.S., you build these goals, you work out, get this hot girl, things may not work out, or, sleep with some hot girls, in your early 20s, you got to get them fresh while they're fresh, or it's gone. And you want to. Some people don't realize this, I don't think, as you're older, but you want somebody young to grow old with, and you don't get any of that. When you get a used old dog, that's what you're going to get, a used old dog. And all those traits and all these things that you think of females and what men think of females and how precious they are. We see them in porno. We see them in actions in Romeo and Juliet movies and all these things. It's something that it's not likely hard to talk about to women and adult women, but it's the validity of the truth. The softness of a skin and tenderness of a woman that's in her 20s, 18, 19 years old. When that gets taken away from you, and then you start losing your 20s, and no, you don't get anything. Now I'm 20. I'm 28. I don't get shit. I don't get anything. Nothing. And those values of things, the experiences of having children, a front yard, a backyard, gone. And the idea that you get to grow and age this way with that person don't exist in that youth. You're old. You have to reinvent. You're not reinventing yourself when you're 20 years old. You're not doing none of that shit. You're really doing that when you're old, because that's what an old syndrome is. Accepting the things that you can no longer change because there's nothing you can do about it anymore. You understand that this old process we're all going to face, because when you get to that age, when you're 40 years, when you're 50, 60 years old, you're going to be looking back again, and you're going to be saying, oh, I could have done this, or I should have done that. Well, it's better to have had a lot of money and problems than no money and all the problems all over again. Same thing. And that's tough. That's tough. So, I thought I'd make a video, and I always try to take care. Every time I was homeless, I always try to eat healthy. Not always, but when I was in Alaska, I maybe, go out and grab some fruit, or stop by a quick restaurant. I didn't get to eat in Ketchikan. I didn't get to, I went on an application spree and try to work on a boat. I couldn't get anybody to give me hire. I had one person to call me from Ketchikan, and I didn't know it was like a year later. And I don't know why they called me out of nowhere, but I don't know if it was, they said they were from Ketchikan. I had posted a rent for, it was like a year later. It's like, I've long moved out of that place. But, it would have been nice, hey, if I was going to be following all this other stuff, hey, I applied on a boat. Got an application going, put me to work. I want to go to work, It's nice to be able to have a job. It's nice to be able to go to work. At least for me, I know a lot of people are not like that, but I know Michael Rossiter was very much like that. He enjoys, like he used to always say, I have to go do something at a job. I have to go to work, I like, laying around doing shit, even if I was, gotta go be doing shit. So, but, it's tough because, the good experiences were very shortly lived. Getting the luxury of things that I don't ever get to see. Like I see a boat, these several boats, just floating near the shores. Like that's a luxury to me. I may have been homeless, sleeping next to the shores, waiting for Free Willy to show up, which he never did. But I get to look at these boats and environment, because I'm from Texas. I never get to look at anything like that. Just to visually, for me to look, oh wow, this is cool. This is the sort of island, experience. So I'm very delighted that way, but I'm still sleeping outside, and I don't particularly so depressed, but I do think to myself, I'm in an unknown territory and just in this journey of life. because I have no more choice of this whole journey. The journey of me going to all these different places is my journey of life, and meeting people I've never met, and dangerous places, and interesting things I'll never see again. And as opposed to, I go to a job, get a degree, make my life purposeful. I have to please God. I have to be good to the world before I die. Have a little bit of fun, and that's the primary thing, is to get, what am I going to contribute? What am I going to add to this table? What am I going to give? We add, we don't subtract. So I think that that's something that that I think it needs to be understood. So I think that when I'm in Hawaii, I get reminded, sleeping next to a morgue. You're sleeping next to a morgue, and there's like 100 people there, 120 people are like homeless. Some people are like butt almost naked, sleeping on the floor. And I'm there for like, I don't know, how long did I live there? I think it was like 3 weeks. I was living there for about 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks, and for me to be there and among all these, it's filthy dirty. Reminds me at 38 years old, 38, 37, that, that's the way life is in this journey, and things end up being bad there too. I'm taking a shower, but it looks like a prison hall. You take a shower, there's no doors or nothing. It looks brick concrete walls. There's bars up on the. It looks like a jailhouse, a prison jail. That's what it looks like. You watch people's. Lady looks like she's possessed by the devil, screaming at the top of her fucking lungs at the corner of her street for 7 hours non-stop, and and I'm watching people that looked like they were thrown in a house, just house sitting. Like, I remember seeing this guy in Hawaii, and he looked like he was a native for sure, without a doubt. And this guy looked like somebody had abandoned him in a house wherever he lived, and he wasn't taken care of. Like, they just, I think they just abandoned. So how like they call them hoarders, where there's just so much shit all over the place, or like nobody really took care of them, and their life, the way that they lived, was pretty much sitting on a TV and chair, not because they wanted, but it was just a hard life, I think, for some of these native people. And who knows that they were doing drugs, and they didn't do drugs. And I remember seeing this heavy set guy, his toenails just fucking bringing out like fingers and green bridges and shit, and looked like very bad hygiene, and like somebody had abandoned some of these people and just left them there. And I do think about that, when I was out there, people got to realize that I'm calling some of these places, and they're telling me like they're telling me, okay, well, you got to go here, and then this car will take you up the mountain, and it's like a poor village, and these people live in these huts, and it's like totally like people living in tents, like crazy shit. Like, and it's bad already at this shelter, but that's what I'm experiencing. Like, I'm not at my house that try to give me the money, comfort that I could have had. I don't get anything. Like, I'm in the hot sun, 80 degrees. I walk by some of the rich areas. I walk by some of these wealthy areas, and I'm always being kicked out all over the place when I'm in Hawaii. But in Honolulu. But when I'm walking in these areas, I see people on vacation. Most of them are all white. I watch people driving, looks like whatever they're doing costs a lot of money. That, nice brand new iPhone or you have, or getting out your Mercedes, or this, surfer board that looks like it costs several $100s. It's on this dude's car, whether it's friends or college students. Whatever it is that they're doing costs a lot of money. Hawaii is very expensive. And, just right on the other side, sleeping at an empty park. I'm going to Chinatown, getting leftover weight in line, getting food. Whatever Chinese rice, whatever some food they're willing to share, for the homeless, or at the Chinatown, where it's tough, and that's what my experience was. I'm running up a mountain and shit, so it becomes voyaging and journey-like, and this is one of the reasons, I think it's a lot of fun building these, but it costs a lot of money as well, and, I'd rather be doing this and have more purposeful, but if I'm going to be traveling, I should be able to build at least some of these projects along the way, and occasionally here and there as I'm traveling and doing other things, because obviously if I'm not able to get a girlfriend and relationships and live a new existence of understanding of life, then I'd rather be much more enjoyable because my circumstances I can't change anymore. With my mother and what had happened, and what money they took and spent, and excuses and this and that, but the story at 40 years old, 41 years old is now changed. It has now changed. So, yeah, it's people have no idea. Every time I was homeless, whether I was sleeping on a bridge, parks, I'm always as careful as I can. Numbers of times I used to even wear, this is one of the reasons why I always wear these leg warmers. Protects my skin, helps blood circulation, helps the elements, kind of helps you feel like you need to be active, and kind of gives a sports look, like you are active, so help motivate a little bit. Especially since I played a lot of sports when I was younger, and I think it's important, especially when you're homeless and you're trying to sort of stay in shape, because you never know the outcome. There were times where I got beat up a couple times, getting into fights and stuff, and you just don't ever know. You always have to get up and leave. You don't know if you have to jump on the next train and bus. You don't know if somebody runs into a gas station and wants to get down to a fight. No matter how much you avoid the situation sometimes, and I'm even still bitter about that Asian guy, when I was with Leanne and in London, and I wanted to crush this guy. This guy was like, we put a pretty good even fight, but I'm not thinking anything in my mind that this is going to be like, I don't want you breathing. I don't want you moving. I don't want you alive. I don't want you to be alive to recover anything. There's nothing in my mind that's going in this, and I'm very disoriented. I don't know why I feel disoriented. I feel like I've been up too long. This guy's like wanting to take me. He says, "Yeah, come on, I'm gonna rape you, or I'm gonna," and I think he tried to do this to Leanne, and I said, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I sort of separated the situation. And this is like when I'm in London, and then he drags me, like, "What the hell's wrong with you? Like, man, you all right, man? What the hell's wrong with you?" And he walks away. Most guys are, some good circumstances would have just start, "Come on, let's fight. Touch the girl that I'm with, let's fight. We're gonna fight." And my first reaction was just to keep her protected. I'll take the toll, and he's not gonna want to touch me too many more times. You stay protected. That's number one. And that's what a guy does with his girl. But anyway, there's a lot of humility that goes into that. Well, if I had the money, it's like I could have been in London when I was in my 20s. None of those experiences are good for me, for me to think of and fantasize, but they're still there. When I was in my 20s, you get to go through all these thoughts when you're homeless, and you have nothing. You don't get to eat at choose the best food on a menu. Be careful financially constantly, because you have to think about the next bus trip. You have to think about where you're going to live. and moderate yourself. You know, changing socks all the time. You know, at least minimum once a day, at least that. But I always try twice a day. You know, keeping fingernails, toenails clean. Try not to do that in public too many times. You know, take a shower every time you get the chance to. Feel freshened up. It's tough because, you know, you're doing the normal things that people do in their normal households, but you're doing it outside and with no job, no money, really not much putting out other than surviving the next day. And you're like, okay, look, I get to see the raccoons walk by me in the creek, you know, fish out for food. You know, they're not digging in trash cans, you know, but you know, you get to look at the wondrous mountains all over again repeatedly, but you're like, you know, it's always nice to look at, but you still want to remain purposeful to your life. You know, that, you know, I think it's nice, but, you know, the progression of wanting to get a car, luxury, you know, I have no desire personally to, you know, a Honda Accord can make it all happen for me. I'm good there. The rest of my life, I don't have fun. I don't know why people do go over Lamborghinis and stuff like that. Respect the cars, the art craft of it. You know, it's nice for people that I've always, you know, especially nowadays. You know, Honda Accord gets you everything you ever need. That's the Lamborghini you need in your life. Great gas mileage, gives you transportation, safe car, you know, sleek look. Everything you ever need in your car, you know, it's, but yeah, it's just, there's so many stories and so many things I can say. You know, every time you buy things on Amazon, you're constantly thinking about what is it that I can purchase that's going to be very resourceful, useful for me on the road. Simple things like things that you purchase over time, different items, different spoons, whether there's spoonfuls into a fork, or which, you know, I recently, or I've just a couple of different utensils that I bought on traveling utensils, you know, having a fork on one end and having a spoon on the other end, easy to accommodate, fits in the backpack, it's effective, plastic hard, easy wash, and it's very mobile and traveling, very comfortable. So you can focus on other things. You know, you try not to spend money. You start trying to figure out things, how to wash clothes without spending money inside a washer or dryer. You know, and you know, saving money that way. Especially now, as in Seattle, living in a, you know, you buy a great Gatorade bottle. It's large enough where you can throw your boxers or these little, you know, spandex compression pants, you know, in there, and throw, you know, about, you know, a couple tablespoons of soap, shake it up a little bit, to sit in there for about 8 hours. Look for the next place that has a dryer, blow dryer up against the wall, so that you can actually go ahead and dry your clothes. You know, you pull your after about 8 hours or a full day, go into the sink, wash your underwear, your socks, and stand literally in front of an air dryer, just blow drying your socks for 45 minutes. For 40 minutes, wringing it out as much as you can, and blow drying. 25 minutes should do it. You know, hopefully people sometimes walking and washing what you're doing, you're like, oh, it's nasty, you're washing your fucking underwear inside the sink and shit. But I always make sure when I do that, I wash and clean my own mess, because I don't want that's nasty, you know. But I get up, try not to leave a big splash. I throw some soap on there before I leave to make sure I clean before I left. I may have gone there and washed, you know, my undergarments or a t-shirt or a socks, but I clean there and then I leave, you know, to give that place respect. And you got to think of that. There's all these things that people don't realize, that I'm homeless and don't look homeless in those pictures. because I try to take care of myself as best as I can. But my body's still taking some pretty bad abuse. Sleeping on concrete isn't particularly very easy. Wearing the same clothes, not being able to take a shower for weeks on end, it becomes difficult as well, because you start smelling your own shit. You start smelling yourself all the time. You do become adaptive. You do become very adaptive of that lifestyle, because there's an adaptive of understanding that you're also letting go of the life that you once lived, that is so clean and squeaky that sort of you may have tried to retain, and the existence of death and life become more vivid. It becomes more vulgar. Becomes more vulgar in the reality that you're in this planet with a lot of people, and we're all going to die, and we're all going these different journeys. We all have these different existences. Some had a car, some didn't. Some had a nicer car, some had healthier lifestyles. But every day the sun goes up, the planet completely rotated, and we're not going to be here very long as human beings. And what happens with that? What happens to an afterlife if it does exist? And how does it correlate with your actions and decisions, and the things that you could control and the things you couldn't control to attribute to if there is? And the only way is to find out what information you can prior to getting there. But it's easier to get comfortable with that settings that a lot of people do in their homes and do all this other shit and steal and take from other people, to then, it's the afterlife experience, different journey. It's just a different journey over there all over again. It's just a different journey all over there again. And that's the realness of it. You start trying to find motivation. You start looking at people like in India, they don't even have plumbing. People like in Africa, they go to the beach to shit all over the beach, coastal shores. They literally just pull their pants down and there's a bathroom toilet. Fucking, you see 10-year-olds and 15-year-olds and adults that go to the beach, and you see all these dark little muddy spots, all like every 5 feet you see a big lump of dark brown shit dried up from years of just shitting all over the beach. The water is just washing up. It's full of shit. And you think, okay, it's not that bad. I'm living underneath the bridge. At least I get to have a Rice Krispie treat. At least I get to, go to Jack in the Box. Look what they got over there. I don't like it too bad, but that's not the life that I understood. I understood something else. I was DJing. I was, from a wealthy, not wealthy, but was going to be set well, and somebody just came and enjoyed their life and then told everybody else that's not what they did, and they got an easy slap on the hand. You will never get that life again. What you just took away, you will never get it again. That's why they did it. They wanted to scum this shit. You will never get that opportunity again in your lifetime. I didn't. When somebody does that, that's what happened to me. But I'm in Colorado, and when you're walking in these long distances, I'm walking the railroad tracks, and I remember going to the Columbus Park where I saw the limousine and all the cops and stuff. I think it was the president. I had been sleeping there for a month, I think it was. But before I got there, I'm looking for this place to stay, and I'm going back and forth and sort of moving. I have to cross this bridge near the baseball park. It's like a baseball stadium. And, I'm walking, I occasionally see other people homeless, and you kind of figure out what they're trying to do. immediately you're always on this prowl of, are they dangerous, helpful, they're the need, what's your existence, you're not alone in this world, also you can see somebody else going through it. And I keep walking and I see this huge river, and then I'll look down underneath the bridge, and I remember seeing this guy just like, I think he was washing his clothes in the river, you know, and this is like in, not even too far from downtown Denver, Colorado. And I'm like, and I'm thinking to myself, that water can't be that clean. You know, this is not Alaska clean water. And you can see that these people have these like tents. And you're just like, why am I different than any of these people? You know, these people are calling me on the phone, I can't have unemployment. I'm getting $25 for food stamps. And I'm like, and it's tough because I'm doing the best that to take care of myself. You know, I put things in my hair, you know, like a beanie over my head, a hat. You know, keeping myself as protected as well. You know, you try to find clothes that when you're homeless, what fits good. You know, you want to stay, you always have to be like an active sportsman, homeless person almost, because you're not only physically have to, but you can't lift weights, you're all this, you know, your legs start hurting, my legs start hurting and all this other shit. So I have to, you know, stay sort of very skinny, mobile, you know, person, and just active, skinny, active person. And, you know, you're always trying to think of like, you know, what can it assist to make this existence better? Clothes that maybe, you know, you get a loose sweater, you know, that makes it oversized so it feels comfortable, so that, you know, you can utilize it to whenever you're in a movie theater, you're under a bridge, to cover your face, you know, and it's not to cover your face from people. It could be bugs, or, you know, there's all kinds of things. You know, I had beanies over my head with a hat on, you know, because it gets too cold outside and you release, you know, 60%, I think it is, that we lose the heat from our bodies. Is somewhere 60 to 70% is from the top of our heads. So you got to keep the top of your head very warm, and you know, whether it's a color, you know, wearing red colors. You know, of hand mittens, and, you know, I'm in Seattle, Washington, or, you know, I'm in, you know, and sometimes you have to sometimes you do accommodate to making some things harder for yourself, to find some motivation to not get too comfortable and cozy to what that situation is. You know, figuring out, you know, always GPS, every city that I go to from the very beginning, I literally map out everything on my phone. I literally pick out laundromat, all gas stations, all laundromats, all gas stations, and all job temp agencies in the proximity of the area that I am going to be homeless in, or I'm going to be renting or immediately. What's the resourceful things? Gas stations have cigarettes. They have Gatorade, quick beef jerky, protein snacks. You know, obviously very expensive, more expensive there than you go to a grocery store. You know, figure out the fastest, cheapest grocery stores, or any Walmarts. Obviously, Walmart has everything you need. If they don't have Walmarts, they have these other, you know, just like they have Albertsons and stuff that's famous or well known in like Texas. All states have like their own, like sort of like Walmart themed or Albertson themed kind of stores. They're just named different. In those types of cities, you know, to be Duck and Save or whatever it is that they have there in the city and state. But, you know, you're always trying to, accommodate those types of situations. And, you know, time is running out. And, you know, I have to think about my transplant. You know, cancer's going to develop. You know, I don't have too much more time. You know, I don't get to own a dog. You know, laser beams are being shot at me horrifically all the time. And so it's very little is short-lived and enjoyed. Very little of it. Very, very little of it. people have no idea that, you know, I may have taken a picture and posted it of Instagram or on Facebook, but it took me 6 months underneath a bridge of nothing finally happening, and you know, I'll take a picture just that I had an existence in. You know, I'm in, you know, in Seattle, Washington. You know, taking a picture, you know, next to some fruit. You know, it's on the side of a highway. You know, or making a video. And there's other tragedies that you see. I still remember watching. You know, I was in Seattle, Washington. This is really unique about Seattle, Washington, is that there's seem to be a lot of fruit, vegetative fruit that grows there. There'd be strawberries. I remember seeing strawberries on a wall, like just naturally grown. I'd walk in some creeks and there'd be fountains of like fruits everywhere. And you'd walk by highways even sometimes. And they don't have a whole, like in the areas that I was, you know, these highways, I know you think of pollution and all this, but you know, Seattle, Washington is a very coastal area, and it has the best hydroponic growth. That's why weed is real popular, because it grows so well there because of the oceans and the humidity, and the environment is supposed to be really good for your body as well and lungs. But it grows really good, rich in fruits and and you know, grass and plants grow much more richly there. So when, you know, I'm on a bus and, you know, I see what I think this person could have been a transgender. I don't know. Really short hair. Cuts, like suicidal cuts all over their arm. Like they were just cutting themselves. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, this person was with a knife, just cutting themselves, and not just on one arm, but on both arms. And there were pretty deep lashes. Some of them looked very fresh. And on a bus, and I remember seeing, and I'm just like, oh shit, you know, these wounds look very fresh. Didn't look like they were coming out of a hospital. And I remember the bus driver just kind of looking, and, you know, kind of got, I don't know if they were mad, but kind of told this person and said, like, thank you, say thank you for something. And, you know, it was stuff like that you'll see, or, you know, but it's particularly not enjoy the way you think it's going to be enjoyed. You know, when you're your friends and have a wealth and abundance, and you know, when you have a wealth of abundance and you're with your friends, you're waiting to tell your friends where you went and all this other stuff, the way that you visualize your experiences is very different than when you're living out of a backpack, because I'm just living underneath the bridge. Your existence and how you view things. Like, I was living underneath the bridge and I saw a Statue of Liberty on the back seat of a car, and this lady was dressed up like fully painted and looked like she was going onto a movie set. Completely looked like she was going to be filmed on a movie set or something. And I didn't know why this person was taking the bus. I didn't say anything. Very polite lady, great girl. You know, and it's things like that, and you know, you start to get depressed really, and you know, and you know, you're going over these bridges, far drop to the bottom. You know, and I don't know if these people think I'm suicidal, which I'm not. You know. Thinking, you know, and you always analyze. I'm always analyzing the situation to what people may think I'm doing, and you know, it's tough because, you know, sometimes you'll come across a gangster, or you're always pretty much in sort of this, you know, because people know that I'm homeless. They know that I ain't got nothing to lose. They don't want to fuck with me. A lot of the times, you know, either if they know about what's going on or not, but they know that I got nothing to lose. So sometimes people will grace me with that, be like, you know, they got a good job, or they got something going for them. They know I look homeless and don't look like I ain't got nothing. I'm carrying a big backpack everywhere I go. And I don't think I've ever talked to, I don't know if I've discussed this. I'm sure I have slightly, but I carry my backpack around everywhere I go. into the fucking bathrooms because I don't trust anybody. I have to go in because I can't allow them to steal any property. If somebody calls me, if I shit myself, if I fucking need to get clothes and it's jam packed in a fucking toilet, I can't let my backpack to get dirty. So I'm very careful to only allow the bottom surface of the backpack touch anything, germs. I go to the bathroom. I have to take my backpack with me. I walk out. It's so cluttered. It's constant behavior like that. I'm in Mexico. When I take a shower, I have to put these stalls, and there's several other stalls. I have to put the backpack right up against close to the door, and I have to look through the cracks in case anybody comes in, fucking grabs my backpack and takes off running. That way, if they try to fucking make a move, I can grab the backpack and secure the backpack and then deal with it that way. Because that's all I have. I have my clothes, I have my life in that shit. Then if I don't have anything, I have chargers, phones, all that shit. So you have to carry your wallet and put it in your pocket, and you have to hang it over the shower stall. So even if they do steal your backpack, at least you have your wallet with you and at least one pair of clothes. You have to, I'm always like this, I don't ever walk out and leave my backpack unattended like a kid. That's how very much I am. I don't ever leave it unattended because they'll do that shit to me. I'm in Cancun, Mexico, and there's a big flood that happens. There is what was it? I think it was a huge flood of water that was coming from there, and leakage all over the ground, and I'm paying $15 to stay at this hostel a night. This ain't cheap either. 3-4 bumps ahead, I see this hot girl, and having sex. Some look like some college students, and there's all kinds of shit that goes on. And I watch this guy after I watch the bullfight come in. I don't know if this guy's a cartel. When I'm in Mexico, when I was in Mexico, I would go to sleep, and people would walk in all through the night. And some of these rooms are real small, and there's only 2, 4, 6. There's 6 beds, but it's in a room half the size of this living room. All bunk beds. There's just enough for you to jump off your bunk bed with your backpack, take 2 to 3 steps, and you're by the door. That's it. There's no really room to luxury of any of this. And there's people that are walking into these hostels at 1 o'clock in the middle of the night, 2 o'clock. And when you look at them, they do not look like tourists from Europe. Even if there's drug dealers of Europe, there's sex trafficking, all kinds of shit. But when I'm doing this, I don't know, this guy just fucking, you don't know, this guy is a cartel member. He's fucking on just trying to get a hideaway because he just killed a few people. You never know. And you look at him, and death and murder didn't seem to death and life to them have a very thin line. That they don't function in the same ratio as you do. I still remember stopping by and grabbing a taco or something, asking directions, and I promised this lady I was gonna have breakfast. I was like, I'll come back, and I didn't. Something happened, and I was like, damn, it's probably not safe if I go. And I felt bad. She was a nice lady, It was a nice Mexican lady. She had she was using her own utensils in house and kitchen just to have a breakfast, make you some taquitos and eggs and tortillas and frijoles, and I couldn't, and it's stuff like that, and it's, I'm in Cancun, Mexico, and I see this guy without any arms and legs. This guy did not have, and he was just begging on the floor, and I felt, and I came by and I told him, and you see things like that. I walked back over to, the hostel, and I just don't know if any of these people are drug dealers, and I'm getting angry making these fucking videos about what's happening in my life. I start getting pissed off and frustrated, and you know, and it's sometimes I'm always polite and I'm always nice. You know, sometimes I like to joke around with people sometimes, but you have to keep them in respect. I was never in my intentions to do anything bad. Even when I was running around, you know, in a fair park, to jump on a truck or I would never do anything like that. I know my boundaries, you know, enough to understand to, you know, I'm not abusing any power that may be leveraging on me because of what is happening in the world that I live in. But that's sort of the existence, you know, and you know, you walk by and you see these crosses in the middle of the highway. I'm in Battle of the Dead. I'm walking by myself. You know, I walk into these forests. Like, I don't know if I think I may have took this video. I was walking just during the day, and this is like deep in the jungles of Cancun, Mexico. And I'm walking, and I'm in it was Battle of the Dead, and I lived there for about a week. And when I was for about 5 days, because I rented a hostel there. And I get to this, walking to these sort of cenotes or sinkholes, and I walked to this sinkhole that hadn't been, I guess it hadn't been discovered or something. I don't know, I just happened to walk in there for some reason, and I stumbled across a sinkhole. But this one hadn't been excavated for tourists. It was, and this sinkhole was massively deep. Was this as round? It was as round as probably the circumference of, I would say, probably by 20 yards by 20 yards in a circle like that. And as I'm walking and I look, I mean, it's deep far because I got to swim in some sinkholes that are very similar size. And it was all fixed up. They had filter water in the systems. It's beautiful, scary at the same time. But I walk by myself, and you know, I don't have any weapons. So if an animal attacks me, a fucking tarantula, a fucking anaconda, something that's poisonous, a poisonous frog, you know, a poisonous insect that I'm not aware of, I'm fucking in trouble. You know, if I get wounded, I won't be able to drag myself out of here. You know, and I can't walk too deep, but I walk deep enough that people probably wouldn't walk as deep as I did because I did push a little bit more. And I get to this sinkhole and I look, and when I approach this, all of a sudden, and I kind of move a little bit, and I kind of throw a stick to see how far it takes to measure how long the sound or hear the water, because I can barely even see the water. I don't even think I can see the water, and I can't see how far the water is down. But it's a far deep. It's a 7 drop down. It's 5 seconds to hit that water. It's 4 to 5 seconds at least to hit that water, and there's a huge vulture all of a sudden that I spook out of there. I mean, massive vulture. I could feel the wings of this vulture go like moving, getting at this it was a vulture, some type of vulture bird, and like vultures are always known to be a demon bird or a bad bird. But it was you could feel the wings moving out of there. Oh shit! Now I don't even know what it is. I don't know if it's a fucking, you know, I don't know how well adapted jaguars and panthers are into the size of mountains. Obviously, you watch how they're good in snow leopards are in the mountains catching goats. You know, there's a lot of stuff that goes. It can be very adventurous, but very shortly lived. You know. I'm walking outside, I walk to the sinkholes, they begin shooting me with electronic devices. Once I get there, the guy starts mocking Jesus like he's sitting on a chair. I told you to worship. I'm there by myself, letting the fish kind of nibble at my feet, you know, swimming through this water of ancestry, you know, and I go through, you know, I'm walking on but before I even get there in the middle of the night or on my way back, I decide to have this little flashlight. You know, and walking into this area, and you'll see crosses every once in a while, and somebody died there. You don't know what to think: murder, death, decomposed. You don't know what happened. And sometimes they're nameless, and you're walking in this jungles, and I see this jaguar. It looks kind of like a teenager, but it's just checking me out, kind of giving sort of like. And I could see, because that's what I could have sworn it was, and it was this. The teardrops were piercingly reflecting right back at me, and it's how I knew that it was some sort of looking right at me, and it was like wildlife, but it wasn't. And I got very scared and nervous, but not in the sense of like it just was trying. I don't know. In the spiritual world, in these. Okay, I wouldn't say it's in the context of Mexican spiritual sort of storytelling of what happens there is this guy. I mean, with the stories that they probably tell in, such as the spirit of the jaguar, or give you passage or whatever, to walk through it. It would have been phenomenal, because it was kind of giving me a sense of approval, but it was a sense of just checking me out, just to take a look at and see what was going on, and it sort of just to reaffirm, and didn't growl, walk away. I sort of just started, because I saw this. It was kind of raining a little bit, not rain, but some water drops, and there was bats that flew over my head that almost caught me in my head a couple times. And I knew there were bats, because not only the sound, but the wings. I was able to catch enough of the wings and how the wings sort of move. Because bats don't have feathers, they have some sort of they have a different flapping sound. Like the flap sound is different, and the flap sound and the moving and how fast they move with their wings is very different from a normal bird. And it flew over my head, real close, like almost so close, like almost catching me on my head. And I thought it was weird, because I was already in a very dense jungle, where usually animals like that, when they get really close to your head like that, it's usually to scare off a predator, or to check you out, or it may have just happened to cross by, but it came very close to me. And like within a foot, right over me, as I was looking, to see where I was, because I didn't want to step any further. I could sort of see this jaguar, but what it looked like to me. But I get back and oh shit, I can't, because the truth is you're in the wildlife. Something like that snatches you, a crocodile, drag you, you'll never be seen again. Piece of cake, but. You walk, start running out, don't panic and run, but I slowly walk faster, take off running, just so I can get to this highway. But it's not a normal construct, it's just not even a busy street, it's just a long stretch of road. And you just can get to safety. And this is the middle of the night. There's absolutely nothing I have. And it makes you think of what mysterious things that go on in the jungle. It's just so mysterious of what goes on there. The mysteries of the sort of the jungles of the world that live in there, that animals that I'm sure have yet to be discovered. There's a lot of creatures and animals we haven't discovered in this world, even more in the ocean. But I get back to the place, and I think people have me on camera or whatever. Obviously I also just because I'm Mexican doesn't mean I'm also not an intruder. Because those people actually live there, and I also have to understand and respect that as well. I'm not much different. This isn't the free tokens of that situation. And I don't want to make people scared and hostile either. Like I'm jumping the cenote, and I kind of get nervous, and I start swimming very quickly away from this, drapes, because it looked like it would be a crocodile or something snatch my ass. And I just kind of swim in there. There's lots of people there, but it's kind of creepy looking, and it's very sacred to these people. and I don't want to. I'm not trying to ruin that or make that difficult. If somebody shoots me with electronic devices, and it's supposed to be magical, as well for me, and it is very enjoyable, but it's not as magical and pure as it should be and allowed to be because of what's happening. It's because of what's happening. I don't go to a nice restaurant. I'm running very hard, low on money. Don't have family. Think about the homeless experiences, and only getting older. And there's not much that I can do. I but try to make the most of it. It's very adventurous and fun, but it comes at an extreme cost. I think those memories you can tell people, but I experienced them alone. It wasn't with groups of friends. All of it. When I was, when you think that you're ready to storytell people, you have no friends to. You don't have. I don't have a family thinking like, oh wow, like I'm gonna remember this one for a long time. You don't. It's way better to have. It is more important to have a family of your own than to think of these types of things. It's great because I had no choice and I make the best of it. But family. I'd rather have Nicole Kidman, banging her up all the time and having kids any day of the week. Married for the rest of my life. That I'd rather much have, and a dog and a house and separate careers, and have your friends and occasional neighbors and stuff like that, and figuring out how to accommodate a better life and existence to not just yourself but others, and stay in that for the long haul and for the long longevity of life, because you never know what can happen. And when I'm getting old and when I start getting diseases, I don't have my own children like my mother does to say, okay, come and take care of me now. In Mexican culture and the way that it's always been, it's much, much more been trained and installed and accepted that it's the culture that you take care of your grandpas when they can't feed themselves anymore, with spoons when they can't feed themselves anymore, and you help them instead of throwing them in nursing homes, and we age in that way, and you see a lot of this in Mexico. You see old ladies in Mexico, and their cousins and their other generations of kids around them still all the time. I don't have any kids of my offspring and get to experience the unbelievable magic of my own genetic makeup into a woman of my choice, or more than one, or I don't get to experience any of that, let alone because it's a saying, because children could be still born with diseases and whatnot, but there's not the potential for me when I get older. Kids are going to be taking care of me because I took care of them, and it was a life that you have problems, you get sick in a disease. You had all these memories and experiences you had with these people for a very long stretch of the road. I don't have any of that, or will have any of that ever. And I think to me that's more important. And it can be fun traveling, but the storytelling is very short-lived. You're like, oh, you got to see this, and it's not really. You can still take vacations and do all this other stuff very easily. See the world. It's whether it's making music or playing piano, I'd rather be doing that. I could be playing a piano or a keyboard and learning stuff like that, and then casually you have the privacy to go to, like, the beautiful places of Chichon, which is like the Aztec Indians, and Mayans, and the pyramids, and you feel very adventurous because nobody's following you, nobody knows who you are, and you play this keyboard and you just want to get some spirituality, sense, or very simple, and focus on what's more important, career choice. But it's really not that. I'm just kind of just jumping into the snakes here and jumping into the snakes there, and don't ever know what the fuck's gonna happen, and just trusting my environment and instincts as best as I can. But you never know what can happen. You never know what can happen. Don't want to instigate people either the wrong, because whenever you leave, I'm in Mexico, remember, I understand they live there, I don't. That's their full-time place. I'm definitely going to never repeat the same thing Michael Jackson did. You're just to show up and then just rip the shit out of that kid. And it's just, Ken Cooper of the police department with Keno, DJ Keno with Sarah Cooper, yeah, I thought it was important for me to talk about, because it's, it sounds adventurous and it's fun to talk about here and there, but to me, I'd rather be doing, but I didn't have much of a choice. Times start to change, you start to think what, my existence of life, what's it going to be? What are my choices? Now that I'm at this age, I'm aging, what perceptions and how smart do they think I am, and how they're going to measure all those types of things. So it becomes very difficult, because it was a necessity. It was all out of selfish and greed, and you get no more chances. No more chances at all. No more. That's why they do that. That is exactly why they do that, because you will fall in that category. Then you get to think about the afterlife. Whether there's going to be something good for you, or there's nothing that's going to be good for you there. And then how much of that element will make you think about whatever good existence and purpose you had on earth. Just because you believe in God and what version of God you think that is, doesn't mean that one exists at all in any way that you ever thought. That's why people are as greedy as selfish as they are to get the most out of this world. Not just because of natural instincts, in my opinion. It's also to secure the afterlife. But I think it's important for me to make this video, and it's definitely not the Goonies, adventurous and comfort like that. Like, something happens to me, I ass out on the ground. There's no safety shit, and it's hard. I'm stranded in Iceland, and I'm sleeping in freezing ass temperature. I'm fucking tired. I'm just sleeping on concrete on the side of a fucking walls, throwing out vent air, and I'm like, fuck. Excuse my words. I'm cursing all these crucifixes here, religious stuff, but I'm like, oh gosh, go down the street, get some French fries, nice bite to eat, good snack, at least I do. It enters the bloodstream pretty quickly, and good snack, some salt, you need salt, and I thought it was important, but it's rugged. You gotta ask somebody for help and shit. You gotta ask total strangers. You don't know if they're gonna want to help you. I got very lucky when I got to Iceland, and blessed that they were willing to pay for my ticket. I got very, very lucky. And I had just got back from Auschwitz. I wasn't ready to go yet, and but it's hard. People sometimes think that, I'm going to go on a voyage and just travel throughout Europe. You've got wealth. But if you live on a disability check and you're sleeping on the streets in a different foreign country, you don't know these people. Your instincts of being a foreigner, and the only advantage I had would be because I was Mexican and I lived in the U.S. So that foreign ethnicity experience of exchange and communication I can use as an advantage to navigate myself and how to communicate in a different country with foreigners. And foreign country. So if I was in Germany, or if I was in Belgium or France, and I'm homeless there, these people that I'm living, those people that are communicating, body language, techniques, custom, because it's the universal trait of what humans understand. People understand disrespect. Number one, people understand disrespect. You do not have to know their language to know that they know what sort of disrespect, the basics of that, how to respect, and so you come into these environments with people and you don't know what, you sort of try to size things up to accommodate whether they give a lot here or they don't give very much here, or they're willing to give to me for a moment. But yeah, so it's and I've always tried. Most of this struggling homeless experience is so hard. But when I'm going to these places, they're not luxury. When I get to Mexico, I'm staying at the cheapest hotels I could possibly find and hostels, and I'm staying all throughout the different places. Finally give me a decent, good haircut there. I'm smoking cigarettes because I never know what's going to happen. Get back to the US, deal with a lot of other shit, and deal with a lot of the stuff, and then I have to head out. Back living on the street somewhere else. It's fun while it lasted here, and then it's over. But you get to think about all the stuff that people took away from you. And that's what you get to think about. It shouldn't have been taken away from me, but it did. If the money wasn't on my life, then it's for senseless shit. Selfish and greed beyond anything you can imagine. And then you got to remember that those people are going to get rewarded for what they stole and took and thieved and manipulated the entire time. They will be rewarded. And there's always the idea that I'm going to take myself down with you. Whatever it is I can scavenge and drag to the fucking ground, they're going to take it down with you. That's what they will do. 100%. Without it, 100% they will. But, yeah, so I thought that I would make a video. I've been speaking for about an hour and 20 minutes. Gonna eat a little bit more food, and get some more nutrients with this Malto meal, and listen to some music, figure out what other stories to talk about.